SpaceX IPO is more than a story about rockets and the mission to Mars.
A lot of wealth being created because this is one of the biggest liquidity events ever. The SpaceX IPO likely creating the world's first trillionaire, we know that, but several new billionaires and countless...
This is a story about financial wizardry and financial engineering that I don't think has ever been seen before. It took the smartest people in the markets to figure out how we're going to sell a $2 trillion asset and get everybody on board for something that makes only $10 billion a year.
Breaking news coverage of the SpaceX IPO does continue now. We're open for business in the biggest IPO ever.
Now in this video, we're gonna dig into the ins and outs of what SpaceX really is. We are going to dig into how Wall Street was able to devise a strong enough plan to convince pension holders, 401k buyers, index funds, the entire stock market that the world needed SpaceX stock. Now, to tell the full story of SpaceX, we need to take a look at its history. We have to go back to 2002.
Hi, welcome to SpaceX. Here we are in the lobby. It's very white right now, but there are actually some cool elements coming in soon that will make it less white.
Now, before SpaceX became this giant thing that was able to move markets, it started as a very strange bet. In 2002, Elon Musk was not trying to build a normal aerospace company. The origin story is basically, space was too expensive. The old rocket industry was too slow. And if humanity was ever going to get serious about Mars, somebody had to collapse the cost of getting things into orbit. And that's the important thing to frame. SpaceX was not just a space company in the beginning. It was trying to collapse the entire cost of the industry. You see, the early years were brutal. Falcon 1 failed once, then twice, then 3 times, and this was not the polished mythology version where the future was so obvious. This was a private company burning through cash, trying to do something that had mostly belonged to governments. Then in 2008, the 4th Falcon 1 launch worked. SpaceX became the first privately developed liquid-fueled rocket to reach orbit. And a few months later, NASA awarded SpaceX with a commercial resupply contract. The company went from this rich guy's Mars dream to a government infrastructure partner. And once you understand that, the modern SpaceX story makes a lot more sense. SpaceX has lived at the intersection of engineering, state power, private capital, and now myth-making. So when we talk about the IPO, I do not want to start with just the ticker. I want to start with the origin. SpaceX was born from a real engineering problem. Space was just too expensive. But what it became was much bigger, a machine for turning technological ambition into financial gravity and engineering. Now, this is the part I'd like to focus on, the myth making, because this is where SpaceX stock really takes off and becomes a $2 trillion asset. Something very important to distinct when looking at the valuation of SpaceX. Now, when people hear market cap, they think that is the total value of the company, but that is not what is always happening. Sometimes there's only a tiny part of the company that is actually available for sale on the open market. This tiny piece of SpaceX is essentially setting the valuation for the entire company. 4% of the market is available to trade right now. That means 4% of the stock is valuing the entire $2 trillion asset. The rest of that stock is locked up. 50% of that is locked up in Elon Musk ownership. He has a different unlock schedule than everyone else. I believe his unlocks start in about a year from now. Now, employees and investors make up the rest of this class of ownership. The rest of the 50%. Employees have their own unlock schedule where over the next 6 months, most of their stock will become available for trade. So if I've been an employee at SpaceX for the past 10 years, I'm able to start selling my stock on August 11th. About 20% of the shares will be unlocked on this day. To put this in perspective, imagine a company has 100 total shares and 95 are locked away. Only 5 of them are available for sale. If buyers are desperate for those 5 shares, the price is going to go up a lot quicker than if all 100 shares were available for sale. Now, the headline on Bloomberg or CNBC reads as This company is valued as if all 100 of those shares were on the market. This taps in a little bit more to the financial wizardry that was created before they decided to set the IPO. This creates for some wild price action. You saw the price of SpaceX shoot up over 20% in the first couple of days of trading. Very impressive, right? This usually doesn't happen. One guy owns 40% of a $2 trillion company. That's a lot of control. Not only does it give him a lot of control in the company, but it gives him the ability to help control the fluctuation of the price. If Elon Musk never sells, then there are 40-50% of the shares that are just going to be locked away. So it's very important to know how these unlock schedules work. We're going to have continuous unlocks over the 70-day, 90-day, 120-day, 180-day mark. Business Insider reported that by the 180-day mark, 58% of the shares will be available to trade. So what does the price of SpaceX look like when now all of this unlocked stock has come onto the market? Will it go up? Will it go down? Well, people might not be edging for that 5% of stock that is available to trade on the market anymore. Not only does SpaceX comprise of the rocket company, it's also comprised of Starlink, the one that's providing super fast satellite internet to everyone across the world. While they were testing and launching rocket ships into space, they were also deploying thousands upon thousands of satellites to provide internet connection to anyone. It was clearer than my Wi-Fi. So, not only is SpaceX comprised of these companies, they also merged xAI, Elon Musk AI company, the one that produced Grok. Grok is their essential chat interface, ChatGPT, Claude, clone. So how do you get a mega valuation in 2026? You're an AI company. OpenAI and Anthropic are looking to IPO on the public market somewhere around $1 trillion valuation as well. So what did Elon Musk do to get that $1 trillion valuation out of SpaceX? He put his AI company in the wrapper. SpaceX alone only has $18 billion in revenue. Meanwhile, companies like Anthropic have almost $50 billion in revenue, and their growth rates are insane. So I'm an investor, and I'm saying xAI being tied into the financials of SpaceX, I might start valuing it as an AI company now. This next part was executed after the IPO, and I think it goes back to show how important SpaceX having an AI valuation means. They bought Cursor. The Cursor deal tells you what SpaceX and the market wants to believe it is. It's an AI company with rockets. Earlier this week, SpaceX agreed to buy Cursor for $60 billion. Now, Cursor competes in the same market as OpenAI and Anthropic, with their competing products from OpenAI, a coding tool, being Codex, and Anthropic, Claude Code. Cursor is building a coding tool that allows companies to build any product with AI and no code. Vibe coding, if you've heard of it. Now, this is where the story gets a little bit more complicated, but this is where the financial wizardry really shows up. Because people say, well, why do indexes have to buy SpaceX? So technically, indexes buy nothing. They are just a benchmark. The NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100. There are huge funds that make the promise that we are going to track those indexes. QQQ, SPY, just to name a few. If SpaceX somehow gets added to those benchmarks, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, those index funds then in turn become buyers of SpaceX. Now, the fund doesn't get a choice to say, hey, I don't want to buy an asset that's already $2 trillion. Let me wait to see if it drops to $1 trillion. No, they have to go out on the market and buy it in order to fulfill the demands and the needs of the fund. So this creates an even more powerful amalgamation of buying pressure. The index funds have to buy into some of this 4 to 5% of stock available to purchase on the market. Now, not only do you have retail buyers, you also have funds with billions, trillions of dollars of assets under management purchasing into SpaceX. Scary thing is that a lot of people are getting into this stock without actually making the decision whether or not they want to. 401ks, if your 401k has any exposures to the indexes, they are also buying into SpaceX. This is a huge asset. So what happens in 6 months, a year's time from now, where everyone is locked in these funds and caught holding the bag. This is a channel where we cover the most fascinating stories about money and culture. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. I don't know where this stock is headed in the next few years. I know that this is one of the biggest stories to come onto Wall Street in my entire lifetime and maybe ever. And to see what they were able to do, the financial witchcraft, in order to pull off this $2 trillion IPO to get as many buyers before and after, and then go out and buy a $60 billion company on day two tells you the confidence they had in the package they put together